Hare Krishna, welcome back. Today we will see what is Guru Tattva. This is based on a survey of various acharyas in the ISKCON movement and including the founder acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Each one of these acharyas have given a different angle, a slightly different angle on what Guru Tattva is and how we need to surrender to the Guru in order to achieve that supreme destination, going back to the spiritual world.
The great devotee who is a Mahabhagavat, why is a Mahabhagavat? Because Malaya, because he stands firm like a hill, determination, and Dhwaja, he is philosophically very strong. So this is the point which Narad Muni is making by naming King as Malaya Dhwaja, that a devotee whom you want to take shelter, whom you want to take guidance from, whom you want to make him as a guru, or him as a guru, Diksha Guru, whatever, that devotee should have two qualities. So Malaya means he should be determined in devotional service, should have firm faith, and second is Bhaja. He should be philosophically very strong, that he can counteract all kind of doubts and stupid philosophical speculative arguments. Jnana, yoga, karma, or maybe all materialistic sense gratificatory arguments, he can simply smash them. And not just that, he's interested to make propaganda all around the world. That is Malaya Doja. And what this Malaya Doja is like. So Devarshi Narad gives three more characteristics of a guru, a person whom you're taking guidance. Person whom you're taking guidance, he should have this qualification. That's what Narad Muni is saying. First qualification is to determine Malaya. Dhwaja means he should be able to defeat all opposing arguments. He should be very philosophically sound. Pandya and Puranjaya. So these are two more adjectives given. Third qualification is Pandya. He should be learned in scriptural knowledge. Panda means knowledgeable. It's not that you can make somebody your guide and he doesn't know any scriptures. He is a simple devotee, but he doesn't know any scriptures. You can't make him a guide. That person should be knowing scriptures. If you want to become a guide, you should know scripture. Otherwise, at least the essence of scripture. Otherwise, how will you guide others? So that's what Prabhupada says. The Panda means, unless one is highly learned, should be highly learned. Third and fourth is Para Puranjaya. He should have conquered. Let's say Para means spiritual word. That's what Prabhupada says. He should. The Para refers to the Kuntha, and the word Jaya means conquer. He who has conquered all non-devotional conceptions and can conquer the kingdom of God.
Dhruva sorts out a guru. First I must get a guru. Isn't it? Tomorrow, Guru Krishna Kripa, I must be a Babija. Krishna Kripa, a Guru Bede, Guru Kripa, Krishna Bede. Mercy of Krishna gets Guru. Otherwise, mercy of Guru gets Krishna. You understand? You cry. Dhruva cried from Nara, isn't it? Then you got Krishna, and you got Narayana. Then you have to cry for Krishna if you really want him. You follow Mr. Peter. Huh? What do you say? Then Krishna will make arrangement. Your sand is real, bona fide representative to you, you meet it. You meet it. Then why must you can get Krishna? That's the process. No other process is there.
Was talking about spiritual realization. So Ramananda Rai was from a Shudra family and he was householder and governor of Madras, politician also. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking questions from him, and this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Lila. Mukam karati bhacha. How he is making Shudra, Grihastha, politician, is Guru. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So nobody can become Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was playing the part. He was questioning, and Ramananda Rai was replying. So just imagine how his position was exalted. So he was little hesitating when very intricate questions were put before him. He was quite able to answer, he was answering. So he was feeling little hesitation that you are coming out of a very high Brahmin family and the most learned personality, and now you have taken sannyas, the supermost position in the human society. Sannyas is very respectable position. Still, it is honored in India. Anyone who has sannyasi goes, lives in the villages, they offer respectful obeisances and gives all kinds of comfort. Still now, according to Shastra, it is said, if a sannyasi is not offered respect or duly honor, the punishment is the man should fast at least one day. This is Vedic system. But there are many sannyasis taking advantage of this. So we are not concerned. Neither Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a false sannyasi, he was real sannyasi, and he was also real Grihastha, Ramananda Das. So he was feeling little hesitation. To encourage him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, no, why you are feeling hesitation? Why you are feeling inferior? You are Guru. How I am Guru? That Jai Krishna Tattva Sai Guru. Because to become a knower of Krishna is not ordinary position. Jatatam Abhisiddhala Kaschit Vittimam. One who has known Krishna is not ordinary man.
Qualification of Guru. So the scriptures tell us that there are, of course, many different qualifications, but the basic element is surrender to the Supreme Lord, which means the person has a very favorable attitude towards the Lord. He is performing bhakti, etc. Of course, there's different amounts of surrender, but Jiva Goswami actually mentions that one at the beginning of devotional service can surrender to the Lord and offer himself to the Lord. So, of course, we want a person who's steadily surrendering to the Lord, not just for a few seconds. But this is the main quality. He is actually a devotee of the Lord, a committed devotee of the Lord. And in India, of course, that is caste system. So it's not a matter of caste, Brahmana, Vaishya, or Kshatriya, whatever. We don't consider him on that basis. That is not the concern of a devotee to choose Guru. It is actually how he can deliver the jiva. And that is not dependent on caste or varna. It's dependent on his bhakti. So the only provision is that if one is going to take sannyasa, one must take sannyas from a sannyas person, not a grihastha. Or the equivalent, of course, in some of the Gaudiya sampradayas is that Babaji. So Babaji gives Babaji to another Babaji, not a grihastha doesn't give Babaji initiation. And that's about the only restriction there. So we do not choose a guru on certain wrong conceptions. That is, of course, the caste conception. He's a Brahmana, so he's better than the other guru who's maybe a Sudra birth or whatever, or a Malesha birth or whatever. Or, of course, you can say Indian. If he's an Indian, he's better than an American guru or something like that. So that's not the basis of judgment. Or even under ashram, we shouldn't say the sannyasi is better than a grihastha guru. As we said, we're not considering varna or ashram here as the basis of the guru. He's surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So as we know from if we look at the Bhagavatam, we'll see that many great devotees were grihasthas. Great kings. They were not Brahmins, they were kings. Ambarish was a king and he was a grihastha. He was a great devotee. So we have all sorts of persons who were devotees. Of course, we find Dhruva was, I guess, a brahmachari. He saw the Lord, whatever. So we have people all stages of life who become great devotees, regardless of ashrama or varna. So, what does the Shiksha Guru do? He gives spiritual instructions from the relevant scriptures, Sambandha Gyan, all about Krishna and Bhakti, Sambandha, Avidya, Prayojan, etc. So, in a general sense, also all devotees who are generating auspicious by distributing the holy name may be regarded as Shiksha Gurus. All people who are preachers, in one sense, are Shiksha Gurus as well. But usually, one chooses a particular person or particular persons to give specific teachings, so they are given special regard, like the Diksha Guru. So both are regarded equally, and they get equal respect and worship, the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru. So in the Krishna Bhajanamrita, there it says that if you're going to take a Shiksha Guru, then you should ask permission from the Diksha Guru, and the reason for that is that the Shiksha Guru should be within the proper sampradaya, shouldn't be from some other group because he may get some conflicting teachings. So the Diksha Guru should approve that he's in the proper line with the proper teachings, etc. So we don't have contrary teachings coming up. So to summarize, the Diksha Guru is one. There's a mantra, that is the secret mantra. It gives knowledge. The Shiksha Guru can be many. It gives Hare Krishna mantra and Nam, etc. And also gives knowledge. So quite similar, the only thing is Diksha Guru gives the secret mantra. Now we have acharyas, very, very prominent members of the sampradaya who give teachings and write books and granthas, scriptures, etc. And Of course, we have, the Goswamis, and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, and Baladev Debusan, Narottam Das Thakur, etc. And they're given greater respect than the others. So we have a commitment to follow the Sampradaya and the teachers there and the founders, to give them special respect. So we have a subgroup within the Gaudiya Sampradaya where Prabhupada has started ISKCON, and so he's the founder of this particular group within the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And therefore we give prominence to his personality and his instructions. Founder of ISKCON. So Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru should be equally respected. This is mentioned in the Krishna Namrata. Regarded as dear servants of Krishna, they should be served with great devotion. In the Archana process, one should go through Guru. Within the Archana process, one should worship Guru, and then with his permission, one worships Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. So we go through the Guru to worship the Lord. What is respect? One is, of course, these are technical things. Respect the asan. You don't step on his asan and bed, or his shoes, or his vehicle, or his water, or his shadow. Follow his instructions. What's even more important, offer pranamas, which means full surrender. As we see in the Bhagavad Gita, it says pranipatena, pariprasnena sevaya. So pranipat is falling flat on the ground, which is a sign of surrender, obedience, etc. Respect his name. So generally, we give some reverential title to him. Try to please him in all ways, and to, of course, absorb oneself in chanting the holy name. So as I mentioned, the acharyas are given respect. So in ISKCON, we give special respect to the preeminent position of Srila Prabhupada. ISKCON members shall be trained to place their faith, trust, and allegiance first and foremost in the founder acharya, who is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for every member of ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada is to be worshipped through his words, more his picture, and his devotees. This is verbatim from the ISKCON laws, actually. Okay. Disciples of ISKCON gurus, other than Srila Prabhupada, may worship their gurus according to the guidelines of ISKCON laws and keep with the spirit stands for guru worship in ISKCON. So what this means ultimately is that you worship the Prabhupada, and you also worship your individual guru, Diksha Guru Pada. The prominence always has to be given to Srila Prabhupada. So the Guru Pujas or the daily worship of Guru can never eclipse the worship of Srila Prabhupada. So in the future, of course, we have to think of what will happen. We have Prabhupada, and then within ISKCON now we have many gurus, maybe there's 30 or 40, 50, I don't know how many. And then in the future, more gurus and more gurus and more gurus. So we have so many gurus there. So we always have to put Prabhupada in the highest position. So that's why we have some rules like this, that the worship has to be lesser than Prabhupada's, etc. So, how is it possible for the guru to have faults? Of course, we're taught that the guru is Sakshat Tattva. He is the equivalent to the Supreme Lord. And we'll find many places in the Bhagavatam and other Puranas, the guru is equated with the Supreme Lord himself. And if one sees the guru as a human being, then one is an offender. Okay? So the guru is placed up, not just a Diksha Guru, but the Shiksha Guru also, are put up in a very high position. This is, of course, suitable if that guru is at the level of prema, where there's a full manifestation of Krishna within that particular person. And as I mentioned that previously, I think this morning, the verse of Bhagavatam was talking about the seeing Krishna everywhere. So that is actually what the Prem Bhakta sees. He sees Krishna everywhere. Krishna is within him, and he sees Krishna everywhere. Okay? So that person, actually, there is no fault. Of course, even then, it may look like fault because he doesn't act like a normal person anymore. That's not true. The world doesn't follow the rules and regulations of the world. So if you're looking for a regular guru who follows everything regularly, you may find fault with him also. But technically, no. He is intimately related with Krishna, and there's no fault in him. At the same time, this guru is very rare, and generally, he's not a guru because it's Madhyamadikaris who become gurus, not Uttamadikaris. This is mentioned in the Madhurya Tamari. The Prem Bhakta sees no difference between demon and devotee and anyone. So he has no concept of preaching to any particular person, to deliver anybody. Everybody's already related to Krishna, even the demons. So he has no impetus to preach. So therefore, he doesn't function as a guru in most cases. Now, we do have examples like Narada Muni because he's a Shakti avatar of the Lord, so he preaches. But in general, when one reaches a level of prema, one forgets about the material world completely and sees everything in terms of Krishna. So therefore, he doesn't start preaching. So then, this is one reason why it's the Uttamadikari, though, the Prem Bhakta, though he is the ideal guru,
one, very rare. Second, he probably wouldn't take up the function of being a guru because he's too absorbed in prema. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that it's the Madhyamadikari who is the real preacher. He is the one who sees the distinction between devotee and non-devotee, an innocent person, etc. He is the one that is empowered by the Lord to give out bhakti shakti. So that person who's the Madhyamadikari is not on the same level of prema. So he may have faults, will have faults. We have Anarjana Vritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhava. So all through that, faults can appear. A person can fall from even Bhava stage because he's not completely pure. And Bhava is very, very rare also, like prema. But still a person can fall from his condition. So Bharat Maharaj is an example of that. He completely neglected the worship of Vishnu and remembered a deer instead when he was passing out of his body. So he forgot the Lord, and he was in Bhava stage. He had seen the Lord already, but he forgot him. So it is possible even in Bhava stage to fall. What to speak of persons in lower stage of Asakti, Ruchi, Nishta. So therefore, most of the gurus are going to be in the Madhyamadikari stage. Very rare will get Prem Bhaktas or Uttamadikaris. So they can manifest faults, and they can fall from their position in either sadhana or bhava. So this is to show that there's Krishna at the top, and he has his Srup Shakti, Bhakti Shakti, and he empowers the Madhyamadikari devotee with that Shakti, and he distributes it to other people like that. So because he is the medium of Krishna, then he's regarded as non-different from Krishna. Because Krishna's Bhakti Shakti is Srup Shakti, though are non-different from Krishna. And it's the Madhyamadikari who is the medium of that Bhakti Shakti. So in that sense, he has Krishna in him in the form of that Bhakti that he's giving out.
A lot of times, Prabhupada would tell devotees not to do things they really wanted to do. Somebody wants to make a movie, somebody wants to make a record, somebody wants to go here or there, and Prabhupada would say, no, don't do it. So that means taking shelter of the Guru. I think I told the story where Prabhupada asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj to go to China. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj had this wonderful Sankirtan party in America. But for different reasons, Prabhupada took him out of that service. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj didn't want to leave that service, and he said the party would fall apart. And Prabhupada said, it's not your party, it's my party. I remove you from that party. I'm in charge. Something like that. So the idea of taking shelter of the spiritual master is that he's your guide. He's giving you direction. And it's not that he's directing every detail of your life, but in general, there's, you're not just you don't want to be independent, just do whatever you want. Just like I've said many times that I've read that Prabhupada said that we should get up 4 o'clock every morning. I don't know if you know that, but I mentioned that. Prabhupada said we should rise at 4 o'clock. And so not everybody wants to rise that early. Not everybody finds it possible. But when you meditate on an instruction from your spiritual master that this is what he wants, you get power to be able to do something that's difficult. And so that's what it means to take shelter. You get empowerment because of your dedication to the instruction. So it might be difficult for you ordinarily, because you've given yourself in faith to be guided by someone. When they ask you to do something, it has a lot more power than just like your mother or father asks you to do something. You say, I don't want to do that. But where there's faith, where there's dedication, where there's taking shelter, it means I'm taking shelter of what? Of your instructions. Then when you get an instruction, oftentimes you'll find you'll be able to do it just because you've taken that shelter and you're doing things that ordinarily would be very difficult or maybe impossible to do. So that's how Prabhupada especially nurtured relationships with his disciples, because he knew that to be true, that even though they weren't very advanced in Krishna consciousness necessarily, but they were advanced, so to speak, in their dedication to Prabhupada. And because of that, they were able to perform all kinds of austerities. You'll find if you read stories about devotees going to India in the early days, it's very austere. They were living outside or living in huts, a lot of mosquitoes, they were getting sick. And why were they doing that? Because ordinarily, if you ask them, do you like this? Is this easy? Would you like to go back to America? They would say yes. They're doing it for Prabhupada, because that's what he wanted. So they performed many austerities, myself, many devotees, traveling, distributing books, hot weather, cold weather, sleeping together, wall to wall in a van, so many things. But we were able to do that, taking shelter of the order of Prabhupada. He wanted us to do these kinds of services, so we did them. So that's what it means to take shelter. Yeah, I'm just going to go back and see if you have any questions. Okay.
In between the Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj, and between ourselves here, it's the same culture. For those who are born in India, in Hindu families, or even outside India in Hindu families, this still the vestiges of Vedic culture are going on, the leftovers. And for those of us who are born in the Mleccha countries, where everyone, just by being born there, is born in an atmosphere of non-Vedic culture, we have adopted this culture to greater or lesser degrees. So a significant part of that culture, practically we could say the whole culture is geared toward that point of respecting, not only respecting, hearing from great personalities so that they can help us on the path of spiritual realization. That's not the understanding of many people in Vedic culture, who take it to be a means for elevation to the heavenly planets. It's certainly not the understanding in cultures outside of the Vedic culture. There's also some idea of saintly persons, but in their eyes, a saintly person is often someone who is seriously or in a gross way breaking some of the regulated principles which constitute the very beginning of spiritual life, or even human life. So we see that there are world famous religious leaders who are meat eaters, and they may be taking alcohol also. It's such a different concept. In the Vedic culture, one cannot be a Brahmana if one's an elevated person if one drinks alcohol. But in the Catholic Church, it's part of their most sacred ceremony that the priest has to drink alcohol. And Srila Prabhupada often commented that there was a hospital open for alcoholic priests in America with 5,000 beds. And as soon as it was open, it was full. Srila Prabhupada gave that as an example of how far away people who are supposed to be religious are from any actual spiritual understanding. Today there will be an initiation ceremony here. Initiation, it's not meant to be exactly this or a parallel. Those who do interfaith studies or comparative religious studies, they may say that initiation is, I'm citing from the Catholic corpus because I was raised in that tradition. It might be something like the confirmation in the Catholic Church. When you're 12 years old, which is the same age for initiation, Prabhupada said. Of course, theoretically, you could be initiated at any age, but minimum age is supposed to be 12 years old. So at the age of, because you get baptized as soon as you're born. If you die before you're baptized, it's a theological problem. And what happens? They go to limbo. For generations, they went to limbo. Now limbo has been like Pluto. It got demoted. It doesn't exist anymore. So all those babies in limbo, I guess they got deleted from the hard drive, or hard drive crash or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't require a big brain to understand that it's a very poor theology, that which I was raised in. Very, very poor theology. Anyway, they have the idea that you get baptized as soon as you're born, and then when you're 12 years old, you have to confirm that. You have to go through another ceremony saying that, yes, I really want to be a Catholic. But at the age of 12, you're still under pressure from your parents and this and that, so you have to do it. And around the age of 13 or 14, start to think, well, do I really want to do this? No. So Diksha may be seen something like that. It's supposed to be a commitment with intelligence. Divyam jnanam yato dadyat. The first point is to receive spiritual knowledge, but one has to have some initial knowledge, otherwise, what's the meaning of taking initiation? It's not that one is completely ignorant of what's going on. Some of Prabhupada's early disciples, they didn't know. They got initiated. They didn't know actually what they were supposed to be doing. Just Srila Prabhupada initiated them. And then the first initiates. They were told, so what happens now? And Prabhupada said, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling after initiation. Oh, really? They didn't know. Srila Prabhupada was jump-starting the Krishna Consciousness movement. You all know what that means, jump-starting? They still do that with cars? Yeah, they still do it, yeah. The technology didn't advance in the last 50 years or so. In the winter in America. But I guess it doesn't happen here. They push the car when it doesn't start, when the battery is down. Anyway, he was getting it going somehow by somehow or other, getting it going. But actually, one should have some initial knowledge. One should hear from the Guru for some time. When he's convinced that I want to go on hearing, I have to surrender myself. It's a commitment. One has to make a commitment in knowledge, and that commitment is required to get further knowledge. Anyone can come and hear when the sadhus are speaking, but to take initiation, one should be prepared to commit, to surrender. That's the word Srila Prabhupada used. Commit is one word. Surrender means full commitment. So why should one do that? That is required in human life. In human life, one is supposed to be thoughtful. Otherwise, the dogs and cats also eat and sleep and mate and defend. But in human life, one should be thoughtful enough to see that this world is full of misery. The Buddha is praised for seeing that there is birth, death, old age and disease, and this is suffering. But actually, everyone's supposed to see that. It's not such a big, great thing to see that this world is full of suffering, although they are one and the same. In terms of the knower's capacity to understand, the most capable transcendentalist is the pure devotee of the Lord, who is without any tinge of fruitive actions or philosophical speculation. By devotional service only does one's heart become completely purified from all material coverings, like karma, jnana, and yoga. Only in such a purified stage does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart with the individual soul, give instructions so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjuna and Uddhava. The jnanis, yogis, and karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process, as performed under the regulated principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, or devotional service following the prescribed rules and regulations, is defined by the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. This practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of Raga Bhakti, in which the Lord responds from within as the Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master as super consciousness. All transcendentalists, other than devotees, make no distinction between the individual soul and the super soul because they miscalculate the super consciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. Such miscalculation by the non-devotees makes them unfit to receive any direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of the direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist comes to sense that the Lord is worshipable, and that the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he surrender unto the Lord, Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from that point. The process of understanding the absolute truth adopted by the misguided non-dualist is very difficult, whereas the devotee's way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura at the first instance inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasman Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shrishtam Nanamapi Shakti Putram Atraswarupam Rupam Tasya Gajamurupari Matalim Pushtatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yatsya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Samnatosim Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As is normal in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so much meaning packed into every verse and every word. Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Krishna Tula Bhagavat Vibhusha Vashoy, Prati Shloke Prati Akhare, Nana Artha Koi. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Very powerful and can give ashray, shelter to everyone. And in every verse and every syllable, there's so much meaning there. Doesn't make any sense. Well, that's why the actual Guru is worshipped, because he gives actual knowledge. That's the point. And this is stated in Bhagavatam itself. Yasya Sakshat Bhagavati. So you can see the words are like that, Sakshat Haritvena, like directly Hari, and here we have in Bhagavatam 7th canto, Yasya Sakshat Bhagavati, Jnana Deepa Pradei Guru. He is respected as good as God because he gives the light of knowledge. The Guru gives the light of knowledge. Matyasadhi Shrutam Tasya Sarvam Kunjarasho Jabat. So if someone gives that light of knowledge here doesn't mean you go to school and you learn so many nonsense things and you regurgitate it in an exam. Generally speaking, in the Shastric context, the word jnana means that knowledge, just like in the Ita Tatviti Pranipata, that knowledge. It means the knowledge of the absolute truth, who is perceived in three phases. Brahman, all pervading impersonal. Paramatma is Supreme Lord in his localized aspects, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the knowledge that a genuine Guru gives. And therefore, if someone thinks that such a person is an ordinary person, even after being instructed that you shouldn't think like that, then all his attempts at spiritual advancement, it all comes to be like the bathing of an elephant. An elephant enters a pond, gives himself a good bath with his proboscis, blows the water all over, comes out and takes the dust on the land and gets his proboscis in action again and blows all the dust all over. It's a ridiculous thing. We bathe to get clean. Of course, there must be some biological reason the elephant does that. Maybe it's like the women have to wash their face and put on some powder, something like that. I don't know exactly why they do that, but I don't know if they still do it, because I'm out of touch with this insane Western culture for the last 40 years. Maybe they still do it. So this is the point. The Guru gives knowledge, and in that way, if he gives the same knowledge that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, then he should be respected as good as God. It's the same thing. Srila Prabhupada gave the example of the postman. Someone puts something for you in an envelope, and the postman delivers it. So from your point of view, the postman is as good as in terms of receiving what's being sent, the postman is as good as the person who originally sent it. And in fact, it's more important because he's the one who actually gives it. So that's the example given. That because he delivers the knowledge intact, he doesn't open the envelope and tamper with the stuff inside. Once you start to do that, then you become a criminal. The postman, who's a respected citizen, well, not very respected, but anyway, he's a respectable citizen. He's respected and he's trusted to do his job properly. But if he tampers with the stuff, then he becomes a criminal. And it's the more valuable the goods being sent, the more criminal it is to tamper with it. So this is what these bogus gurus are doing. They tamper with the Vedic knowledge and adjust it, and therefore they convey the wrong thing. You give the example, someone is sending some life-saving drug, and the postman who's supposed to deliver it takes out the drug, takes something out, puts something else in which is poisonous, and gives it back. And then, God, I got the drug. Now say, man, take it, you're going to have poison. You're poisoned by it. So this is what the bogus gurus are doing. But what they do, they take the statements of Shastra that the guru should be worshipped as good as God, that they will emphasize. But the point that why he's as good as God, because he gives knowledge of the absolute truth, that they don't emphasize at all. So that culture is there in India to respect the guru and worship the guru. But why? That is because the gurus don't teach this. Therefore, people don't know why they're supposed to respect them. They have a vague idea, very vague, and therefore they are misled. So the guru is as good as God in as much as he gives knowledge. Krishna personally comes to this world. As is well known, he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya tadushritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuga. Whenever there is decline in religion and an upsurge of irreligion, Krishna says, I come myself. But actually that's going on all the time in human society. There may be phases when it's extremely bad, but actually in human society there's always decline in religion, unless Krishna comes himself. He replied when he was asked about problems in society today. He was responding to what is the Krishna conscious solution to problems in society today. And he was asked that women want equal rights with men. How can they be satisfied? Srila Prabhupada replied, everything will be satisfied. Just like our women, Krishna conscious, they are working. They don't want equal rights with men. It is due to Krishna consciousness. They are cleansing the temple. They are cooking very nicely. They are satisfied. They never said that I have to go to Japan for preaching like Prabhupada. They never say. This is artificial. So Krishna consciousness means work in his constitutional position. The women, men, when they remain in their constitutional position, there will be no artificial. This is from a morning walk on May the 27th, 1974. Now, the contention is that we need to have female Diksha gurus within ISKCON for preaching in America or in the West in general today. Because today's Western youth largely judge religious organizations by how they treat women. This is the contention. Well, sometimes disciples brought to Srila Prabhupada some contentions of non-devotees and raised them. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada would take the stance that actually you yourself share that feeling.
The English text attributed to Saraswati Thakur, sometimes entitled Putana, and sometimes given other names, which I've yet to find any Bengali source for. If anyone out there in the universe has that, please share it with me. I would very much like to see the actual original content of that. But that article is, you could say, like inflammatory in the intensity with which it illustrates what Putana is said to represent, or the false guru and the false presentation of Dharma, and how that is to be refuted, or how that is to be taken on in the life of the devotee. And there it's explained that as Kamsa, you could say, is the original enemy, or the original cause that's sending all these asuras to Vrindavan, right? The Putana, Aghasura, everyone, they're all being sent one by one by Kamsa. Not all, but almost all are being sent one by one to try to thwart Krishna's Leela. And so the way it's explained is that Kamsa may be taken to represent atheism, or the anti-Krishna, the anti-God element. And that is, you could say, the natural adversary of Krishna. What is the enemy of Krishna? The one who denies the existence of Krishna, or the one who wants to make people think that there is no Krishna. They are at odds by nature. So from the very appearance of Krishna in the world, even at the talk of Krishna's appearance in the world, Kamsa is plotting his death. Similarly, if an atheist, let alone if they meet someone like this. And then as all these asuras are sent by Kamsa, then similarly this fundamental anti-Krishna, anti-theistic element has so many permutations, gross and subtle, that are coming to thwart the devotee in their full surrender and devotion to Krishna. So as that is the central thing, and these are the other expressions, similarly there is Kamsa and then all the asuras that he sends. And so the first of them is Putana. And it is said that there is this well-known, very beautiful verse describing how merciful Krishna is, saying that although Putana came to kill him, he awarded her liberation and some engagement in.
Give us intelligence from within our hearts.
Кришна пытается говорить с нами, он пытается из сердца дать нам разум.
But we can't so much hear him.
Но мы не способны ясно слышать его.
Because we have contaminated consciousness.
Поскольку наше сознание осквернено.
And we're still very much attached to our minds and what is the provocation of the minds.
И мы все еще привязаны к своим умам и к его провокациям.
So it's very difficult for conditioned soul to understand, is this prompting, is this coming, is this Krishna, or is this my mind, is this Maya, what is it? It's very difficult for conditioned soul to discern this inner voice, because what is that voice? Is it Krishna or is it Maya? Is it my mind?
Для обусловленной души очень сложно понять этот аспект, когда она получает какое-то знание, информацию в своем сердце. Ей сложно разобраться, откуда это приходит. Это приходит из моего ума, от Кришны, или это Майя посылает мне это.
So Krishna also knows that we're very distracted.
И Кришна также знает, что мы отвлечены.
And so he can understand they're not hearing me. They cannot properly hear me.
Он знает, что эти души не способны слушать меня должным образом.
Because to really hear Krishna within the heart, one has to be in purified, liberated consciousness.
Потому что для того, чтобы слышать Кришну в своем сердце, необходимо находиться в чистом, освобожденном состоянии сознания.
And Krishna knows this is the problem. I'm trying to speak to them. I'm trying to instruct them, but they can't really hear me.
И Кришна знает, что в этом проблема. Я пытаюсь дать им знания, я пытаюсь их наставить, но они не способны услышать меня.
And even when they do hear me, they're not listening because they don't have faith in understanding how that's me speaking to them.
И даже когда я делаю это, у них нету разума понять, а также нету веры принять, что-то я говорю и каким образом с ними.
So Krishna understands they're not hearing me, they cannot understand me. Because Krishna is Adi Guru, Cheta Guru. He's the original Guru situated within the heart of every living
И
entity.
Кришна знает, что они не слушают меня, и они не понимают меня, потому что Кришна является Ади Гуру, Четя Гуру, Господь, находящийся в сердце, который дает это изначальное знание.
So when Krishna realizes they can't hear me, then Krishna assumes the body of the spiritual master and then speaks through the heart and the mouth of bona fide spiritual master who's pure devotee.
И Кришна, видя нашу неспособность слышать Его, Он принимает на себя тело и говорит через сердце и уста чистого преданного, осознавшего себя души.
So Krishna chooses who he's going to speak through.
Это Кришна выбирает, через кого Он будет говорить.
That's Krishna's choice.
Это выбор Кришны.
Anyone can say, well, I'm going to be the mouthpiece of God. And many people are saying like that.
Любой может сказать, что я теперь буду гласом Божьим. Любой, кто хочет, может провозгласить
In
это.
many religions through the world, everyone is claiming that they know God and they're going to be a via medium and speak to you what God wants you to hear.
Во многих религиях личности говорят, что я буду посредником между тобой и Богом. Я буду говорить тебе, что Господь хочет от тебя.
Now, how's a conditioned soul with contaminated material consciousness going to understand who is actually a via medium of God?
Каким образом обусловленная душа, находящаяся в оскверненном состоянии сознания, сможет понять и разобраться, кто является прозрачной средой между ним и Богом?
Because it seems like everybody is saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna,
Потому что может показаться, что все говорят Кришна,
and
Кришна,
speaking
Кришна,
so much philosophy.
и рассказывают так много философии.
So how do we know where is Krishna manifesting?
Каким образом мы можем узнать, где Кришна проявляет
In other
себя?
words, how do we know who Krishna selects by where, through who he will choose to speak?
Другими словами, как мы узнаем, кого Кришна выбрал, через кого он будет говорить?
That's Krishna's choice.
Это выбор Кришны.
And we know in this world that there are so many cheaters out there.
И мы знаем также, что в этом мире есть очень много обманщиков.
Many people claiming to be gurus, claiming to be via mediums.
Очень многие личности провозглашают себя гуру, прозрачной средой.
Now, if we are conditioned souls with no experience in spiritual life, with contaminated mind and senses, how will we be able to understand who is authorized, who is legitimate, and who isn't?
И если мы являемся обусловленной душой, которая находится в этом материальном оскверненном состоянии сознания, несовершенными чувствами обладает, как мы можем понять это? Кто является таковым, а кто нет?
Srila Gauranga Maharaj used to say, Krishna, he knows who is his own man.
И Шрила Горгана с вами Махарадж объяснял, что Кришна знает своего человека, кто он.
Krishna knows who he is choosing to manifest and to speak through.
Кришна знает, через кого он будет проявлять себя и говорить.
So we must be very serious and sincere for Krishna.
И поэтому мы должны быть очень серьезными и искренними по отношению к Кришне.